So we're ready to begin. Hope you all enjoyed your break. Nice little chat, nice little drink. You'll feel refreshed, ready to go for some more. All right? Great stuff. Okay, so my next guest, I'm sure you must all know him. Trevor Dickinson. He's got the most stylish design, the big boing ball. You've got the full set, I believe. Yeah. We'll bring him on stage and he can tell you all about it. Thank you.
Yeah, I saw him at Amsterdam.
Hi there, can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Come on, sit down everyone, come here. Well, first of all, I think it's fantastic to be in the UK to help celebrate the Amiga's 30th birthday. And also, for charity for children in need. No one said that today, so we are supporting children in need. And I think Steve needs all the support we can get, because all the money's going to go to children's charities in the UK and overseas. But we're all here for the Amiga as well, so I'll just get on with my presentation. This is the third Amiga show I've done in about the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I'm getting tired. I'm sleeping less. When I left New Zealand 3 weeks ago, I had black hair. I didn't have a pot belly. But anyway, my name is Trevor, and I am an Amiga holic. I mean, everyone knows about the Amiga. Launched with such pomp and ceremony in New York back in 1985 with Debbie Harry of Blondie, Andy Warhol, the American pop art leader, and it was, you know, a fantastic show demonstration of what the Amiga could do. And we're hearing this sort of sadness today about it didn't compete, it didn't survive, it went on. But we're here to celebrate as well. And we're here to celebrate to say the Amiga's not dead. The Amiga's still alive. The Amiga operating system is still being developed by Hyperion Entertainment, who are the current custodians. It's now 4.1, final edition was released last year, and we're going to see more updates coming out in the future. But let's go back to the Amiga. We're here to celebrate the Amiga's birthday. It produced it had a groundbreaking design that changed the face of computing. We've heard a lot about it today already. It had a custom chipset which freed up the CPU. It delivered advanced video, sound, and graphics. Fantastic. Had a lightweight, preemptive, multitasking operating system that even 10 years later outperformed anything that was in the market. The GUI was elegantly simple, small footprint, and very nice to use. I still love it when I turn on my Amiga 2000, which is my first Amiga, and you get that lovely blue screen. Alright, it's dated, but it brings back so many memories. And of course, it introduced the world to the concept of multimedia. Now we all know that after the demise of Commodore, there was a lot of companies that attempted or were involved and tried to revive the Amiga's fortunes, with some success and some failure. This is my strange attempt to try and show some of the companies that have been involved post-Commodore, and it's definitely XXX advisory rated. So, why do we do it? Isn't that a good-looking young man? What happened? Why do we make next-generation hardware? The Amiga market is tiny. Compared to its heyday, it's very tiny. Compared to other mainstream operating systems, we don't even feature on the register on the dial. Okay? It doesn't matter. I'm here to say it does not matter. We get pleasure from what we're doing. We get pleasure for being Amigans, and we get pleasure meeting like this. And this year, I've really come to realise that. You kind of do it in isolation, you don't meet many other Amigans. And when you meet someone and they know the Amiga computer, and you talk about the Amiga computer, you've suddenly got a bond. And I'm a business angel in my real life, and I was in a meeting with a guy looking for some funding. He had some really fantastic 3D cameras. He was a professor from the west coast of the States, but he'd come to New Zealand for the lifestyle. And we were talking about funding and things, and he said, of course, My first computer was an Amiga. Well, that was it. We stopped talking about funding. We stopped talking about computers. I was going through the immigration in the States. Now, I've had some interesting times going through immigration. You know, why are you coming to America? I'm going to celebrate at the Computer History Museum. It's the 30th anniversary of the Amiga. Oh, is that old, is it? Yes, it is. That old. So he forgot to fingerprint me and take the photograph. And for about 5 minutes, we talked about computers. It doesn't happen very often. Usually they're pretty tough. So why do we do Amigas? Why are we doing next generation Amigas? You know, the NRE costs, the non-recurring engineering costs are really high and significant, especially for small volume manufacturing. It's a money pit. I love this picture. It's like a black hole for money. A lot of costs up front, a lot of risk. The timescales. What about the timescales of developing new hardware? They're always optimistic and they're always underestimated. And I tell you now, hardware's tough, software's even tougher. Just ask the Hyperion guys. It takes much longer to develop software than it does hardware, and software's always undervalued. Prototypes are made in very small batches, and they're very expensive. You know, a prototype costs you $5,000. You only make 5 to start with, to see whether where the bugs are, what you sort out. Then you make another 5, so 5 times 5 is 25, at least I can still count. Another 5 times 5 is another 25. So you've spent $50,000 on prototypes before you've done anything. And that's before you're paying the NRE costs to the hardware developers. So prototypes are worth their weight in gold. And so if you start to think, why am I doing this? Well, there's a madness, I think, in the Amiga. That once you perfect it, it's difficult to shake off. I've always asked, why are your computers so expensive? Now, I always want to say, they just are right. They're expensive because you're making them in very small volumes. The NRE costs are significant. And if you're selling it in the thousands, a few thousands, you're going to be in the top left, I suppose it's the top right-hand side of your screen, or was it left? Yeah. It's going to be the top left-hand side. Where it's like a custom-built Ferrari. And there's very little profit involved. I've said on many occasions, the Amiga 1 X1000 made no profit whatsoever. It was a present to myself. And my wife doesn't know how much that present cost. I heard someone say it earlier, and I can understand that. If you're building skateboards, you're selling in hundreds of thousands and millions, the price is lower. Because you spread all the development costs over the lifetime of the product. So what lessons did we learn? What lessons haven't I learned? I haven't learned that the Amiga market is tiny compared to its glory days. The NRE costs are significant. Timescales are optimistic and underestimated. And I always say this, the software guys don't like me saying this, but whatever the software guys tell you, triple the time. Because it's never finished. Software's never finished. And what's the old adage? Perfect's the enemy of good. So you really need to have control of your timescales. The result in sales prices is high, small volume manufacturing. And one last thing, turns your hair grey. Alright, so why do we do it? Well, we launched the Amiga 1 X1000 at the Vintage Computer Festival in 2010. Some of you were there on that day. And the story I tell since then is that the Freedom brothers here, who are contractors for Hyperion, the day before the show, I knew the computer didn't work. I knew it didn't boot to Workbench. I knew it was all going to fall flat on its face. And I went to the show fearing the worst. They were coming over on the Eurostar, and they were bringing a motherboard with them and their hard drives. And I had some cases which I acquired, and they were going to put the 2 Amigas in the cases and sit there and be off, because I knew they didn't work. They arrived at the show late, about 10 minutes after the show started, and I was thinking this is going from bad to worse. They put the boards in, and they said, look, late last night, we actually got it booting to Workbench for the very first time. I prepared an animation with Hollywood, and that's the animation you can see on the screen. And it was an animation where each one of those boxes has a different special effect. Maybe it rotates, maybe it's a spiral. I lowered the software, they put it up to Workbench, I lowered the software on, and I left it running, and it worked. The trouble was, it crashed every 10 minutes. I didn't care. I had Workbench, and I had something running. So it was hanging together, chewing down the string, but we had a machine. So that was the launch of the X1000. And it was designed to run Amiga OS. Amiga OS, which is currently owned and developed by Hyperion Entertainment. It has a continuous development cycle. Some of these descriptions of names are wrong, actually, so you can read them, they're not all correct. I didn't do the slide, but it's been a continuous development way back to 1985, when the first Amiga was released. The beta test boards for the X1000 were released in 2011. It was delayed somewhat because we did another revision, the 5 motherboards, another $25,000. But it was released to beta testers, and by the end of the year, the first X1000 shipped. And we called them First Contact because they didn't have all the drivers. They had enough. It's a minimum viable product. It showed it worked. It was a nice system. I'm pleased to say that since that time, I would say every single driver's there apart from one. But it's really rock solid machine now. I used it in the States at the Computer History Museum to demo all of the video, animation, graphics, playback, all, even the bone ball demo, the more modern one, running in the background with the sound turned down. And I just loved doing all the screen grabbing, and then suddenly turn the volume up, you can hear the bone ball, drag the screen, there it was. I'd be surprised how many people today were impressed by that. And these are people that were former Amiga developers. They hadn't realized that the Amiga OS and the Amiga was still existing. And the number of people that came up to me and said, wow, we didn't know this existed. It's fantastic, you're doing a great job. I was really pleased anyway. So, the Amiga 1 X1000 was designed for running Amiga OS. But it also, we've got a fantastic core Linux team. 2 of them are here today. Can you stand up? Can you put your hands up, Pat and Darren? They make sure that our hardware works properly. So they make sure that the latest Linux distros are ported to our hardware, PowerPC of course, and with their help, and 2 of the other guys who are like dynamos, we now support over 12 PowerPC Linux distributions and have a live Linux distro as well. It just goes to show that the hardware is really rock solid. They're already ahead of the game with the X5000, and when that's released, we're hoping that will release with a hopefully a live DVD that will run Ubuntu or something else. But mainly it's for the owners to know that their hardware's working well. We did a proof of concept prototype for the Cyrus in 2012. It was a bit of it was an interesting journey. Made a few mistakes. The developers made a few mistakes actually. We reworked that and delayed it and came up with the big new development program with our developer sets, Ultra viruses. And we committed to a $1.2 million development program, which really, for our market, is crazy. Don't tell Matthew, he doesn't know this. However, we decided to really go for it, to make a real investment. And so if anyone knows the history of the X1000, it's based on a Freescale CPU, which, it's based on a PA-Semi CPU, sorry. And as you know, Apple bought PA-Semi and shut down the business, and the CPU is no longer available. The price went up from $600 each to $1,000 each, and now you can't buy them even at that price. So it made sense to look at something that had a long-term development program, and the Freescale Core IQ series had a 10-year guaranteed life cycle for support. So that was good. So we announced 3 new boards. In fact, we introduced 2 new boards. The Cyrus Plus 2.1 was released in 2014 to beta testers. The commercial versions are now stacking, commercial boards are now stacking up in our workshop. And we've got 115 boards now, and they're coming in at about 25 a week. So we're ready to start launching this hardware once we've got what we call a minimum viable product. So that comes back to making sure that Amiga OS and the Hyperion boys are there working on that now. So we're looking forward to releasing that hopefully late September. But you know, these time scales in our sort of business are kind of flexible. It's already running the Amiga OS 4.1. If you at the back there, you'll see a prototype. It's got running 4.1. It's running quite well. There's a few little glitches, but compared to the X1000 at the Vintage Computer Festival, that's rock solid. It's already running Linux as well. So we've got a nice PowerPC Linux distribution. Pat and Darren are working on a live distro, so hopefully that when we ship the boards, we'll have Linux to run as well, and that will show that your hardware's working fine. With the Freescale CPUs, we have two variants, a 5020 and a 5040. The 5020 is coming out first. That's a dual core, 2 gigahertz. That'll be the fastest custom-built Amiga ever. The quad-core version, the 5040, is 2.2 gigahertz, so that'll be released sometime next year. As I said, the boards are stacking up. There's another delivery that's about to come to us. We're working really hard now to, I think we've got the hardware under control in terms of hardware development. We've got two other projects on the go. We're trying to increase the user base at the entry level and the high level. So for us, it's software content. We need to increase the software content. But we're working to acquire iconic, classic, and next generation titles. And if you've been seeing the news, we acquired Personal Paint, Image FX, Valiant 4D, Optimed, TuneNet, DV Player, Ringio. And we will be working on these to produce new updates for both next generation Amigas and for the classic Amiga, because there's a massive classic Amiga user base out there, and we don't want them left behind. We want to sort them, serve and support them as well. We're developing new software utilities. We're really working on to add more value to our software. And we've been sponsoring major software porting projects. And we've been supporting other Amiga OS flavors. Amiga OS is obviously what we developed the X5000 for, and the X1000, and our other hardware. But there are other Amiga-inspired flavors out there. And you know, I want to include all the community. I don't want, you know, I want us to be included, not excluded. So I'm quite happy to see MorphOS or AROS or any other operating system running on the hardware. Let's just sell more Amigas. Let's get more OS out there, Amiga OS out there, and we can get other users to use the hardware as well and buy more equipment, buy more software. It's going to help us all. We introduced an app called AmiStore, which runs under Amiga OS and allows you to do your shopping through the app on your own computer. And this is proving very popular with developers and actually purchasers. And I think we just about hit 2,000 downloads, 2,000 purchases on the App Store. It's only been going very well. Considering our size of our market, I'm really pleased with that. So it's open for developers. We look after everything. They don't have to do anything. We collect the money, we pay them, we take a small commission. So we're making sure we're putting all our own software on here as well. So expect the Ami Store to really increase and improve over the next year or so. And I said we're working on new updates. We have, let's say several, yes I did, okay. We have several new hardware products in development now. That's in addition to what you see on the table over there, the X5000. We're putting more money and effort into productivity and utilities, and also games. And we've got a number of arrangements with developers who we're funding. When I say funding, this is the Amiga world. It's small funding, but it's still funding, which means the developers can make money from their work. And what's great about the Amiga community is that the developers are all working IT somewhere. They work for big server companies. The they're maintaining power supplies, they're doing everything. But in their spare time, their hobby, for their relaxation, they want to work on Amigas. So even though they're on mainstream systems, they come back to the Amiga. And the opening talk today I thought was brilliant. You know, it really encapsulated why we're involved with Amigas, why I'm involved with Amigas. And it's shows like this that make you realise it's about personal contact. Oh, and of course, we want multiple operating system support, in addition to Amiga OS. Isaac Newton said, "If I've seen further than others, it's by standing upon the shoulders of giants." And the next generation of Amiga owes a real debt of gratitude to these giants. If you haven't seen this, I created this in 2010 for a Amiga World puzzle competition, and it was trying to encapsulate all the aspects of the Amiga in one rip-off of Abbey Road cover. And you see the top right-hand corner, you can see a young man with black hair. David Pleasance is in there somewhere. And there's a scary thing when I look at it. There's a line of death. So I hope you're not next to the line of death, because when I look at it, poor old Jane Myers passed away, Marilyn Monroe behind there, Pendy Curry, Fred Fish, Andy Warhol. So I hope no one's near that line. I just struck them one day when I was looking at it. I thought, oh wow, it's a bit creepy. Anyway, I think we need to also thank Steve. I don't think he's in here, is he? Oh, he's just walked in. Without Steve and his team's hard work, enthusiasm, dedication, craziness, who would run us? We wouldn't be here. So my hat's off to Steve. I know you've done a really good job.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
So all that remains to be said for me is, happy 30th birthday, Amiga. Here's to the next 30 years. Is there any questions? I'll try and answer them.
What software is being ported over? Are you allowed to say?
There's lots of stuff we're working on, and some of the more obvious ones. But all of the major titles we've purchased, we want to see upgrades on those. So it's making improvements for both classic and next gen. But in terms of porting, we've been paying for quite some time now porting LibreOffice. And it's typical software, 2 more weeks. Okay. We're porting over the GDB so that to speed up Amiga OS development, so we paid for that. We've got a number of other projects in the works, games that we're working with developers, and I can't get any details on that, I'm sorry. And some other productivity titles.
That was my next question. What dev tools you've got for
Hyperion have just released a new SDK, and we've got the GDB debugger, and you need to ask the people guys about what they use, what the main tools are.
How does the X5000 benchmark against a standard 1200 machine?
Oh, all right. I don't know, but I'll give you an example. How does it compare to the X1000? The X1000's got 1.8 GHz CPU, dual core, Ultivec, and the Warp 3D demo rotating cow. For some reason it's a rotating cow, I don't know why. Does about 180 frames per second, and on the X5000 it's about 290 frames per second, and it's up to 300. I don't think the 1200 could do that. Yeah. But I hate benchmarks. I mean, what's a benchmark? I prefer, how does it work when you're using it as a computer? Because, you know, benchmarks can be twisted to make something look good or something like that. It all depends on what you're trying to show. Whereas if you're using it for games, desktop publishing, word processing, whatever else, it's how it performs in use as an Amiga. Because my original Amigas, I used to use Page Plus. Anyone use Page Plus? and Raw Plus, both from Gold Disc, and I used them a lot for all our technical manuals that we produced, the equipment we were building at the time, all produced on the Amiga. And all my office I equipped it with 2000s, 3000s, 4000s. So I'd used Amiga, you know, in anger, in business up to about 1999, 2000. One more question. Don't be shy. Ah.
No, I'm not going to play a joke. Just that. Do you see any way that you can actually make the Amiga marketable to outside the Amiga community?
Well, we need to. We need to. Well, what's the Amiga community? Is it the people who have just bought the Amiga now? Or is it all the people that had an Amiga that fondly remember it and want to go back? So I think that it's a big community of that type. That's the ones we need to hit. We need to make it cost-effective enough so that you can say, oh sure, yeah, I'll waste some money. I'll try it, but I don't like it. You know, when it's £2,300, it's a bit steep, isn't it? If it's, I don't know, £500, you might think about it. Right? The good news is that although we haven't come up with the official price yet, the X5000 will be somewhere like £500 or £600 cheaper than the X1000, even though it's more powerful. Okay, well, thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Trevor. I think it's amazing. We've got passionate people still involved in the Amiga community, prepared to invest in technology with a much shrunken market compared to several years ago. My hat's off to Trevor. You've taken big risks to keep the community going with hardware, and we need people like you. We need people like you. We need people like Hyperion and Co-Antu, Michael. People that do what it takes to keep the Amiga going. And so, thank you very much. Thank you. So.